When you decide to treat the consultation like it's the most important conversation of their skincare journey, the client will feel seen and heard and supported before you even touch their skin.
Hello and welcome back to the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy. Today I'm joined by my co-host and industry leadership expert, Elli from the Beauty Business Society, and we're diving deep into one of the most underrated yet powerful skills in the beauty industry, which is how to run a consultation that actually builds trust, sells solutions, and sets your clients up for long-term results. Elli has a proven 5-step consultation method that she teaches inside the Beauty Business Society, and today she's breaking it down with us. You'll walk away knowing exactly how to guide a new client from just browsing to confidently committing to their skin journey with no pushy sales tactics. Now, despite this being about skin consultations, obviously, if you are in the industry offering lashes, brows, body sculpting, cosmetic tattoo, hair, this can still apply to you. So please make sure you tune in and take notes. Elli, welcome to the show. It's always so good to have you on.
Thanks, Sammy. I am so ready for this one. This is a topic that literally can shift your whole business when done right.
Well, before we dive into the juicy bits, what's been going on in your world lately? Give us a little bit of a personal or business update.
All right. Well, this morning when I was putting on my makeup, and I don't wear makeup all the time, but I figured I'd best give you my best face. I tell you what I'm really missing in my life right now? Botox. I mean, we're sitting at like 27 weeks pregnant and we're starting to look tighter by the minute, and I am missing more now than ever my Botox. That is what's happening. I cannot wait to jab. That's what I'm consumed with right now. What's happening in your world though?
I am makeup free today and Botox free.
Oh, you can't speak like that though. I got 10 years on you, sister. 10 years.
I love it. I'll be at your stage, I'm sure. Just give it some time. But for now, I'm going to appreciate my Asian genetics.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm heading down to Albany on Thursday. We've got the Wild West Mixer, which is our sold out event. So we've got the Bucking Bull out, which is really exciting because it's the first time we'll be running it publicly. We went through insurance companies. It was an absolute nightmare. We finally found one that said yes, and guess how much they quoted us for a year's worth of public liability insurance.
A year's worth. Oh my goodness. I feel like I wouldn't even know how to answer that question because I'm not even in that world when it comes to those types of things. Am I right in saying something like 80,000?
No, not quite 80. The bull did cost us around that after you have shipping and conversion rates and all that stuff. But the insurance just for 1 year, $33,000. And if you think about it, like, let's just do some quick maths here. Let's say we charge, so we got $30,000, we charge $20 and you get 3 goes on a bull ride. We'd have to sell 1,500 of them to even break even. So you've also got to look at, well, the time of that. If that's 1,500, we can only do maybe one every 2 to 5 minutes. So you've got to have it running for X amount of days, and we can only really do it on weekends or once a month. So when we're looking at the cost of insurance versus what we're actually going to do, we found out is probably better if we go through WorkSafe. We got ticked off with them, so we can't get sued for negligence. We've done all our due diligence. We've got waivers. We've gone and seen a lawyer. So we have everything in place, but we're not going ahead with the insurance. And it's just because it's not financially viable, but also there's so many little things that they'll try ping you on that even if you do have the insurance, they probably won't even cover you. So we just got to the point where we're like, we're just going to be real cowboys and do it ourselves. Obviously, there's some weight restrictions and height restrictions that we have to be wary of. So we'll do a test run Friday. We've got the business closed on Anzac Day, and then we'll run our event Saturday night. Got a band in there. It's all sold out, so I'm excited. And then other than that, it's just been getting book banked and demand in place, like literally recording modules. I feel like ever since I've had you on the podcast, episodes are 10 times easier because you have someone to bounce back with, right? When you're sitting there just talking to yourself and you lose your train of thought, like there's no time to kind of catch yourself or have a spare moment to think. Whereas when you're having conversations, like as you're talking, I can go, I really like that. I'm going to add this too. So filming has just been the inner perfectionist trying to like squish that and just get it done.
You're working hard, sister.
Always. So when we look at consultations, let's start with the big picture. Why do you believe the consultation is one of the most important parts of the entire client journey?
You know what? I was doing this consultation training with one of my teams, and I started off with the question, how do you girls start your consultation process? And a lot of them was like, oh, well, we just kind of maybe ask them, how their skin's been going. And then we just go straight into like the skin analysis. Like, let's just get to the business. And I kind of sat back and I listened to them all, and I could see why they did that, because if they've got the proof in the pudding, they can just run with that. But I feel like they missed the whole part where you get to build trust and set the tone and increase conversation or build confidence and authority. So they were missing out on the whole part where they get to talk about what the client's previously tried or what's worked and what hasn't worked and what they really want to feel when they look in the mirror. And it's not just about skincare. It's about it's not just about skincare. Let's try that again. It's about the trust. And I feel like when it's done right, a skin consultation and the way you start it builds the connection, positions you as the expert, and creates that clear roadmap to the results your client is excited to commit to.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Like when we look back on our own journey with clients, I'm sure every single person has had an experience where they've taken on a client who they probably shouldn't have. And usually it's in the early stages because, you'll take on anyone, you want the money, you're desperate, like you'll do anything. And then as you build up your confidence and your skill set, you start to realize, oh, that's not an ideal client. I'll give a perfect example. If you don't do the consultation, and I had, my Asian background, my dark hair, and I said, I want to be platinum blonde in one session. And you're not asking me about, have I ever done this before? What are my realistic expectations, the budget, being able to ask what products I'm currently using. Perfect example, I've seen this when I was in a hair salon. One of the consultations didn't really go into enough depth. And then as they put these blonde foils on, the hair started like frying, like burning. And then they're asking the question, what have you used in the past? As the problem's coming up, and she's saying, oh, I've been using box dye during COVID. So when I look at the consultation, I always think to myself, how am I protecting myself and how am I pre-qualifying that this is the right service for that person? Some therapists may just see it as a quick form for clients to fill out or something to get through. But what's the mindset shift that needs to happen, Ellie?
When you decide to treat the consultation like it's the most important conversation of their skincare journey, the client will feel seen and heard and supported before you even touch their skin. Like you're just talking to them. You're not going straight in on all of the skin analysis. You're actually learning about them. And I think that this is how loyalty is built, and that's how transformation starts. It's not a form. It's literally the foundation of where we're going to be able to take that client.
So before we get into all of what products have you been using, what have you tried in the past, what results do you want, we actually need to understand who they are as a person, how we interact with them. Is that what I'm taking away from this?
Yeah, it's essential to start by making the client actually feel valued and comfortable. And I think expressing gratitude for their time sets a really positive tone and builds the trust from the beginning. And if you're not taking the time to build that with them, as far as they're concerned, this is just as good as a form that's being ticked off. But I know you've done some NLP training. So I wanted to ask you what some of the most powerful ways that beauty professionals can use their tools to build a stronger rapport with their clients.
I think when we look at communication in general, being able to understand how to be an effective communicator is the most powerful tool of all. And so there's a couple tips and tricks that I've learned that have really helped me when it comes to connecting with the clients and making them feel seen and heard, like you were saying before. So I've got matching and mirroring. Perfect example of this is, you know, when you're talking to one of your friends, you catch up for a coffee and you're both crossing your legs and then they've got a hand on their chin and then you've got a hand on your chin and you just realize that we're doing the same thing. You don't realize half the time, but when it comes into your conscious awareness, you're like, we're matching and mirroring.
Yes.
You're both speaking at the same pace. You're getting really excited, or, you know, if your friend's sad, you might feel a little bit sad for them. Like, we naturally will match and mirror with people that we build a rapport with. But have you ever walked into a room and you're talking to someone and you feel like you're too loud or you're too much and they're really quiet and they're awkward and it just doesn't feel like it's going anywhere?
100%. I feel like that was young Elli. Like, that was me when I was younger and I was who I was and I didn't understand how to, like, essentially avatar people. 100%.
Literally. So, like, when we talk about matching and mirroring, you want to look at the person you're talking to. You know, what is their posture? So if they are standing proud and confident, you're going to stand proud and confident. If they're relaxing, then you're going to be relaxed. You know, when someone's like leaning in and they want to listen to you and then you're just sprawled out on the couch, like, but what if you're both like leaning in and listening to each other? Like, you've got to be matching and mirroring what they're doing. Same with the rhythm. So if I talk really, really fast and I'm not like, Ellie's going to sit here going, oh my gosh, you're overwhelming me. But if I talk like really slow and boring and Ellie's super excited and passionate, it's going to make her feel like she's too much, you know?
Yes.
And it's like the pace. So all you're doing is essentially copying how they're coming towards you. And if they're speaking softly and calmly, match that. If they're upbeat and expressive, lean into it too. So use some of their exact phrases back to them. This makes them feel heard and understood. So this is something that I know Ellie talks about in her skin consultation, and I agree with so much. If someone says, this is the problem I've been experiencing, it made me feel this way, then you can say, I'm sorry that you've been experiencing, and repeat the words that they're using back to them, because it's actually acknowledging how they're feeling. It's making them feel seen and heard. And when they feel that way, they're going to feel like, I can connect with you. You understand. You have a solution. You're here to support me. So that's matching and mirroring. The other one that I would recommend is using sensory language. Have you heard of this, Ellie?
I don't feel like I have. It could be in a different terminology, but not in this way. Hit me with it. Really
random question, but if you were to describe your hands right now, how would you describe them to me?
Relaxed. I don't know how to say it. Relaxed, floppy.
Okay, so you might be more of a kinesthetic person. So when we look at sensory language, we're looking at visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So people process the world differently. Some people are visual, some are auditory, and others are kinesthetic, which is like feelings and touch. And it sounds like you didn't sit there and go, they're pale or they're tanned. You sat there and went, they felt relaxed. Whereas other people might go, you know, they're quiet. I don't know. Hands are a bit weird one to explain. I'm obviously not an auditory person, but listen to how people describe their skin and match their style. So if they're saying things like, my skin looks dull, then you're not going to go to say them, you're going to feel so confident and you're going to feel all these things, because their concern is dull, which is a visual thing. So you want to use words like see, look, brighten, clarity, because that's connecting with their sensory language. Now, if they're auditory, they might say things like, it sounds silly, but. So you need to use words like hear, talk about, ring true, because that is going to connect with them if they're an auditory person. And then lastly, which is what Ellie is, she's kinesthetic. So it just feels rough and bumpy, might be something the client says. So you would use words like feel, touch, texture, and smooth. So when you reflect their sensory language, it creates instant alignment. They feel like you really understand them.
Can you actually be both? Because I feel like as much as I am the sensory version, I'm also the visual. And I think a lot of beauty therapists in general are visual people and touchy people because we not only want to see results, but we want to make them feel good as well with it. So can you dip into two?
100%. Most people will be a mixture. So I actually when I was planning out this episode, I was on the phone with Nick and I said to him, how would you describe your shoes? And I wanted to test him. And he said, clean, comfy. And so obviously for him, it was either a feeling or it was to do with the look of them, but he didn't use anything that was kind of in the auditory language. It sounds silly, but, or, I just was thinking that like he is very much visual and kinesthetic. So you can definitely be a mixture of two. So after welcoming the client and building a rapport, the next part is setting the structure of the consultation. Why is it so important to outline what you'll be covering up front?
When I built out this consultation process, I think I would have been probably 23, 24, because when we went into the industry, nobody really gave you a consultation process. They did, but they didn't. It wasn't from a sales perspective or to position yourself the way we're talking about it today. And so I built out this system and it was almost like in my head, it was a lecture. You know how like an essay, right? You know how at the start of your essay, you kind of go through, I'm going back to literature days. At the start of your essay, you almost essentially go through what you're going to be discussing in the essay and then you break it down. So in my head, I was like, if I'm upfront with them and I say to them, today we are going to be going over this. Not only was I outlining what I had to do in the skin consultation process, but then they became aware. And I feel like it also kind of set the tone for me being able to structure a productive conversation, but reassure them that I was going to be addressing their concerns, but in a tailored approach.
I think that when you look at the consultation, it's critical because if you don't have those conversations early on and they don't feel like you're really seeking to understand them and also show them the pathway or journey that you guys are going to go down, whether that's through treatment, whether that's through ongoing treatments, it just feels like they're coming in, they're getting a service, they're paying and going, and there's no real reason for them to continue rebooking. Have you noticed that with the clinics you've worked with, if they weren't hosting consultations and then they did implement it, they noticed an improvement in their client retention rate?
Oh my goodness, just even having minute conversations with the staff members that I have about the conversation at the start is a game changer. Like not even this full process have I gone through with every single staff member, and they'll say, I took the time to just do this. And then literally by gaining that point of information, I was able to then position myself when I went to do, if we want to call it our sales pitch.
So can you share the script or key talking points you recommend when setting the consultation agenda?
Yeah. So number one, I want to go through their skin concerns. So I want to understand what brought them in today and what results they're looking to actually achieve. Number two, I want to know about their previous products and treatments. I want to review what they've tried before, what has worked and what hasn't worked. Three, we do the skin analysis or the observe, what's happening underneath the skin, take a deeper look, looking at their current skin condition, or even what's beyond what's visible. What's beyond what's visible? Products.
You say that 10 times in a row?
I know. Don't make me, please. Products and their role in the treatment success. So ensuring home care supports and maximizes their in-clinic results. And the fifth one that I go with is your personalized treatment plan and journey. So I actually map out the most effective pathway to achieve long-term success. That's the key part.
So just to recap, we've got understanding the skin concerns, then We're looking at previous products and treatments. We're observing and assessing what happens beneath the skin. Then we're going to talk about products and their role in treatment success. And then we're giving them a personalized treatment plan and journey. How long should this consultation take? Like, is this happening like we're doing a section of it, sitting down, talking to each other and going through things, and then as we're providing a treatment, we're also talking to them? Or is it just sitting and having a conversation? Like, how can we structure this in a way that's engaging in terms of deliverability for the client?
So I think a good consultation is 30 minutes. I think you sit down side by side, ask the first initial questions, talk to me about what your skin concerns are and what you're looking to achieve today. When I actually do that, I have one of the key things that I work off is I have a list of skin concerns that I actually go through. So I don't just ask them what their skin concerns are, because for the majority of people, they're literally like, oh yeah, I'm dry, I'm oily, I'm sensitive. And that's the surface of it, right? So I kind of take a little bit further and say, I'm going to run through a few skin concerns. You might know them. You might not know them. If you don't, just pipe up and ask me. And in that actual kind of tick list that I have, I incorporate other services or other skin concerns that we can provide in the clinic, right? So it'd be dry skin, dehydrated skin, sunspots, freckles, pigmentation, or it might be pigmentation, and they'll go, oh, well, what is the pigmentation, the sunspots or the freckles? And I'll say, this or this. And, oh, actually, that is probably a bit of a concern. And we end up opening up so many doors that they didn't think of, because if they're not a beauty therapist, they're only going to be thinking of the surface things. And from there, I might have in there cellulite or unwanted hair. Yeah, actually, tick. This is where I can cross-refer them to something else. One of the most powerful tools, though, by acknowledging not only what their main concerns are, but then going into the other concerns that they haven't thought of, is when it comes like full circle and you're talking about products. And I think we kind of talk about this a little bit later, but one of my key areas is tying in that this product not only will help support your main concern, but that other concern we kind of spoke about a little bit earlier. And once I go through everything in the consultation, I always ask them, how does that sound? That's kind of how I tie it in the end. I'm like, we're going to run through this. How does that sound with you?
So you're getting them to do an emotional buy-in. You're not just presenting them with information and then going, that's what we're going to do. You're asking them, you're checking in with them, and you're also kind of subconsciously getting them to say yes, over and over again.
It gives us the permission to ask deeper questions without feeling intrusive or making the consultation a conversation rather than an interrogation.
Love that and completely agree. I do the same thing with my coaching calls. Like when I'm talking to someone, how does that sound? Are you happy to go ahead with that? And I think it also gives them the personal power. Like they feel like they're also taking charge and control of their future, which is very empowering. Like they're coming to you with concerns. The last thing they want to do is feel bad and like they're not good enough, or that, there's no kind of solution here, or, oh, they should have done this sooner. But by putting them in that personal power, they're also going to commit because they're invested now emotionally, financially, and physically.
Yes.
Do you know something else that popped into my mind as we were going through that? In coaching and consulting, I always think, sell them what they want, but give them what they need. Some people don't know what they need yet. Like they might be coming in and they're telling you, I have oily skin. Like I need something to get rid of my oily skin. But then okay, well, you've got oily skin. It's because you're actually dehydrated. And they're sitting there like, no, my skin's oily. I'm not dehydrated. And I know this because I was that client. And by being able to use language that they're going to understand and they're going to connect with, and then we give them what they need, which is the consultation process, is the action plan. You're taking someone from being really skeptical to now having the emotional buy-in to achieving the result.
Yes.
Now we're getting to the juicy part, the client's concerns and what they've tried before. I know you call this digging the grave. Why is that?
Oh, I think when I was first in a leadership role, and I thought, all right, I'm going to teach all these girls my little tricks of the trade. because that's how it kind of started. I was like, this is a strategy I use to like kind of get around this because I sucked at this or I wanted to be better at that. And I don't know why or how digging the grave came about, but in my head, I just could see myself going, all right, if I keep digging the grave and I keep emotionally going through, what they've tried, what that looked like, all of those types of things, they're going to remember how deep down they were and why they're kind of here today. And it gives us 3 key purposes. One, we're identifying the past failures, and that then allows us to position our expertise. 2, we understand their price sensitivity and commitment level. And there's certain questions that I ask, but when they're saying like, oh gosh, well, I went there and I spent like $600. All right. Okay. So now we know where they're kind of like what's expensive to them. That allows us obviously to understand their price sensitivity. And then the third one is determining treatment frequency and long-term planning. So the questions we ask is making sure that we are setting ourselves up to position the best sales pitch, I suppose.
Do you know what the most powerful question to ask someone is when they're actually explaining to you all these problems and challenges they've faced? Ask them, how is that a problem for you?
Ooh, yes.
I've spent so much money. I've gone and seen these other people. I still wasn't getting the result. And sometimes they sit there and they're so caught up in like, oh, I'm just
digging the grave.
Done with it. Yeah, dig in the grave. And then the last question you ask is, how is that a problem for you? And that's when they hit the point of, I can't keep doing this anymore. It's absolutely destroyed my confidence. I'm sick of this. And you get the true reason about why they're there. And when you can tap into that and go, well, firstly, I'm sorry. This is what you've been through. Like, I understand. I feel your frustration. And like, I'm really sorry that that's been your experience. Here's what we're going to do. And then flip all the things that they've said. So using their words once again, but creating solutions. All of a sudden, you've taken someone who's like literally at this point of, I feel like I can't get anywhere, to, okay, there's hope now. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And I finally found the right person for me. What are some of the most important questions you like to ask when reviewing a client's treatment or product history?
What skincare products or treatments have you tried before? So I know exactly where they're sitting. What results did you see from them? How much did they cost you? How long were you using those products or receiving that treatment? What did you dislike about the experience? That's a really good one. Like, that could go so many ways. Like, I didn't like how they didn't let me know when they were putting the needle to my skin. Like, that opens up so many avenues. Probably the last one would be, did you feel like the investment was worth it? Which kind of is what you're angling with, and why? Why not?
I really love all these questions. And I think it's important to also break down, like, why are we asking these questions? What is the intention behind them? Like, you can ask all the questions under the sun, and you could ask them because you feel like you have to, because Elli's just told you. But Elli, why are we really asking these questions?
To build trust with the client, but also be able to tailor our recommendations to meet their needs and their expectations and budget.
I'm just trying to think back when I went to have my very first skin treatment. It was at a very established, well-known skin clinic, and I poured in, I reckon, about $2,500 worth of treatments and products and didn't see any changes in my skin. And then I went to another skin therapist who's now one of my clients long-term. And I was just shocked at how different the experience was. Like, I went from come into the room, get change, we're going to be doing this treatment today, not really asking me about what I'm struggling with, what I wanted. It was just, here's what we're doing. Okay, here's the products you need to buy.
Yeah.
And versus like, what are you trying? What's not working? Why do you think it's not working? And then also diving deep into like, what was I using at home? And even if I'd bought these products, be honest with me, are you actually using them? And I think that's a huge one I learned from when I was at uni. You need to ask the same question in different ways to make sure people aren't lying to you, because sometimes they're embarrassed or they're ashamed to admit that they're not following through. And you as a therapist could be going, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. Like, my treatments aren't working, but really they're just not using the products at home. So that was one thing. And then being able to have someone tell me that this is why that hasn't worked. You were getting fluffy facials. Like, I'd never had a peel. I'd never had LED. There were all these new treatments that all of a sudden within 2 sessions, I noticed an insane amount of results. And I know you might be sitting here going, well, all the treatments from the other place, could have been building you up and now you've just had the success there. And I was like, I don't really think so, because they weren't fixing treatments. And so had I had consultations, had I known also how to ask the right questions and express what my goals were, I probably would have been able to say, hey, this isn't what I'm looking for, or this isn't working. But I think from a client perspective, it can be really scary to actually put all your trust into someone, consistently be handing over all these dollars and then not get the result you want. And without having not just this initial consultation that we're going through right now, but also regular check-ins and feedback for assessment, that's also really powerful as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I literally had a message last night from one of my friends saying, hey, she's pregnant and she's having a blowout, and she's like, I don't want to, it didn't backfire on her, but she's like, I don't want to have to spend $70 a pop on each product because I'm really scared of investing that much money only for it not to work. And I was like, well, girlfriend, you've messaged the wrong friend here. Because, and I just said to her, you need to head straight down to this clinic, our local clinic, and you need to have a skin assessment. And even though you might be spending money on the consultation process, you'll get that back in products. I said, but the most important part about that is you're not going online and buying products. You're buying the support from the therapist. So they're going to recommend X amount of products, have an understanding of where your skin's at. They've done the skin analysis. They know what's going underneath. They know that you're pregnant. They know this. They know that. So if the products aren't actually working for you, or you're having a blowout, you've got that support of a professional to say, all right, let's ease off that. Let's only do that 2 nights a week. I feel like I've completely missed the question and gone off onto a tangent with this conversation. But people underestimate as well that once you have this conversation with a therapist, your beauty therapist or your skin therapist, we kind of are therapists too, but that's a whole other conversation. Once you have that conversation and they have all of that truthful knowledge from you, they can support you throughout your journey the whole way. But it is scary to initially put in that trust and put in that investment. And I think that also comes down to the business being able to showcase their transformations when it comes to specific skin types. That's another thing that, if you have time in your consultation, I say to the girls, if they're specifically coming in for pigmentation, rosacea, whatever it might be, at the end of the consultation, show them the transformations that you've actually been able to achieve, and that it's not a one-stop shop, and that it does take, be truthful about the time frame, the months that it takes to get to where you want to get, and that they're not alone. I don't know if I answered your question.
I was just thinking, since we're going so off topic here, one of my amazing clients, Clarissa, she was telling me about a little trick that she does to get more referrals when it comes to her clients. She does cosmetic tattoos, so it's not the exact same as skin. You might get an instant result with skin, you might not. But she said what she'll do after the appointment is she'll have a before and after, and she does a little collage, so they're side by side, and then she sends it to the client and says, thank you so much for coming in today. I hope you love your brows. Please let me know if you have any questions. And because that image is so easily accessible for them, usually they'll just share it to all their friends and they'll put it on their socials. So that's another really cool tip that you could do to start getting more referrals from clients as well. But let's reel it back into the conversation. So if we've got our clients' concerns, their histories, obviously the next step is to bring in our expertise and educate them on what's really going on behind the scenes. So this is what's going on beyond their skin. What's the goal here? Can you walk us through how you do this in a way that educates and empowers without overwhelming the client?
I think address their main concerns first and foremost. But with the skin analysis as observe, it obviously shows us multiple layers of the skin. And I think that if, let's just say their concern is surface pigmentation, but they haven't even thought about what's going on underneath the skin or what's to come to the surface, whenever you're showing them something that they haven't necessarily pinpointed as their main concern, always tying it back to why it's important that we also not just focus on this, but we focus on this also so that we can get the best results in a nutshell.
That holistic approach, really, because I think often people think this is the problem, but they don't realize this is the problem.
This is the problem.
All right, so let's talk aftercare. Obviously, you're going to have treatments, and like they say, you know, the treatment is 20%, the aftercare is the other 80%. So why is aftercare a non-negotiable in a results-driven consultation?
Do I just give the blunt response here? Because I generally say to my clients, you don't go to the dentist, pay $300 for teeth whitening and not take the product that they've recommended you to take home to avoid sensitivity or do this or do that.
I love that.
And I think that if you as a beauty therapist have that mindset and it is a non-negotiable and you can, like, if you truly believe that and you convey that in the right manner, there's no need for us to have a conversation about what you're taking and what not you're taking. This is what you need to get the results that you want. We're being mindful of your budget. So what I'm going to need you to do is, well, kind of, I suppose at the start, if they're happy to go with that, whatever. If they question the budget, then I would be saying, well, we're going to bare minimum need these three. But it's just a non-negotiable.
So what are your favorite strategies to sell aftercare?
I think just associate it with their concerns. If you found other skin concerns, like I said earlier at the start of our conversation, when you went through all the skin concerns and they had areas that they hadn't, it wasn't a main concern, and you know that this specific product, why do people listen? This specific product is not only going to assist with the main concern, but also help the other concern that they spoke about. I think that having that all tied in together is a really nice strategy to add value to the products that you're recommending to them. What about you, Sammy?
I was just deep in thought. I was looking at one of the clinics I worked with, and she had a team of 6. One of the problems she noticed was a lot of her staff weren't selling aftercare in the way she did. So she could sell so much aftercare, like she was the best, but the team weren't. And we were trying to figure out what's the gap here. And you start to realize, number one, if they have never used the product, it's really hard for them to genuinely recommend it because they don't believe in it. They don't know if it works. It kind of feels like, you know, when influencers sell products that have never been opened and you just don't trust them, that's kind of what it's like. The second thing I noticed is when we have our own money mindset issues or internal beliefs, like if we think we can't afford to spend, you know, $150 on this serum right now, we're not going to recommend it because we're going to project that shit onto the clients. Yeah. And so who are you to take away the opportunity for someone else to be able to invest in continuing, like improving or maintaining their results? And so they were 2 things that I noticed came up with teams is the girls don't have sales skills and they have a lot of money mindset issues and they're not getting supported in that way, which I think is really unfair for you as a business owner to get frustrated at your team not hitting targets in sales when it comes to products or services, but not also providing them with the support or the training on how to do that. And so first, it's a mindset thing. It's like, well, hey guys, we've actually got to invest, like our clients have come here to invest in us. Like they want the result. And so if they want the best results, it's our job to educate them and to be able to provide them with the opportunity, and then they can make the empowered decision whether they want to purchase it or not. But I find with aftercare, there's a couple things I always run through. It's like, here's the benefits of using it, and here's what can happen if you don't.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're getting them to make the decision of, do they want the benefit or do they want to go down the path? And so I like to always think about it like, for example, when I did lash extensions, we've just spent 2 hours, we've done your beautiful lashes, you've got a full set. Now we want to make sure that you're cleaning them every day, every 2 days, because if not, you'll have dirt, debris, you know, you might get lash mites and you scare them a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. And like, here's what can happen if you don't do it. So you kind of make it a non-negotiable that this is actually part of the plan for you to keep having this service. And if you don't, then I can't have you as a client, which sounds really like savage or abrupt, but think about it. If you've got someone who's doing the complete opposite of what you need to get the result, you don't want them as a client. Like if you had someone who you've just done this beautiful blonde transformation on, and then they've decided to go and use this like Kohl's $12 purple shampoo and not purchase the high quality one that you've recommended, you're just going to sit there like hitting your head against the wall. And so it's not blackmailing them or telling them that they're going to fail without having this thing. It's just telling them, this is the benefit. This is how it's genuinely going to help you. Speak to the outcomes and desires they want, and then highlight what will happen or what can happen if you don't, so that they are aware and they can't sit there and go, well, you didn't tell me this because you did.
Yes.
So on top of selling aftercare products, you also have to have a strong method for mapping out a long-term treatment plan. Elli, how do you set expectations for a real transformation and best maintenance of results?
I think just being transparent with your client, it goes so much further than anything. You know, be honest with the fact that transformations don't happen overnight. It is a skin journey. We have hormones.
Hormonals.
Oh my goodness. Am I hormonal? We have external factors, and like I said, you build that trust at the start of the relationship. When you're talking about the skin journey, making sure that they're aware that they now have a relationship with you. When things aren't working, call me, send me a photo. Let's revise what's going on. Like, we have a plan of attack that we're going to work with to achieve the results that you're after, but we might need to pivot and move things. Just be transparent. Skin isn't black and white. We know that much.
So after all of this, how do we wrap up the consultation with confidence and help the client commit long term?
I asked them, how soon would you like to start seeing improvements in your skin? Are you willing to commit to a structured plan to achieve the best results? And probably the last one that I go with is, how does this timeline fit with your lifestyle and availability for treatments? Obviously, when we actually tailor it and put it together, and I would say, give me a few moments. I'm just going to revise what we've got here and go through it. And they'd be sitting there and, I don't know, flicking through photos, whatever I'd given them while I was putting together their plan. Because people value that too. Like, you're actually taking the time to map something out for them. You're reflecting back on the conversations you had at the start before you even did the observe, to actually look in and take into consideration what kind of work they do, again, how much money they spent previously, all of those questions around digging the grave, so that when you do ask them to commit, you're doing it in a way that is going to best suit their lifestyle anyway.
I recently had a one-on-one client reach out, and she had one of her clients did a peel, and then her skin started breaking out, and she was going on an international holiday very soon, and she was freaking out. Like, she wasn't happy because, obviously she wanted her skin to be nice for this holiday, and it was just kind of an awkward one, because it's like, do you do the treatment and know the outcome and they have to go through that process, or do you just say no and wait until you come back? Like, sometimes there's these awkward situations where you feel like you can't win either way with the client. What do you do in those situations?
One of the questions that I ask at the start is today's appointment for a long-term transformation, or is it for a event?
Love that. That's actually really good.
Like, what brought you in today? Is it for a long-term transformation, or we got an event coming up? Because then I can kind of define what the event is. And if it's like a wedding or whatnot, we're like 6 months out or whatever it might be, 12 months out. If it's an event coming up, we know that we can still do the whole skin consultation, but and acknowledge all of those other areas. But for today, prior to the event, and obviously being transparent with skin doesn't happen overnight. I would kind of say to some of my clients, the first month you're going to find you're going to have a bit of a breakout because your skin's not going to be used to what we're doing. The second month, we're going to readjust things. And by the third month, you'll start to see results. That was just, and everyone's different. But if I set myself up that way, if we saw really good results in the second month, we were already leaps and bounds ahead of what we kind of wanted to do.
I think that's super valuable because I definitely had booked skin appointments on a Friday and had skin needling and then gone, oh shit, I've actually got an event tomorrow. And my skin therapist is looking at me going, oh, what are you, like, you know, don't tell me. And, you know, I'm just kind of like, oh, can I just put some foundation on or no? So now every time I come in, I kind of get asked the question like, do you have anything on this weekend? Or when we go to rebook the appointment now, so it's not just happening on the day, she'll ask me, let's do it earlier in the week so that if I do have something on the weekend, it's not going to impact the treatment we've done. Because you don't want to just invest all that money, have the treatment done, and then do the complete opposite of the aftercare instructions because you haven't planned correctly. And I think just asking those questions, we don't know as clients to bring that stuff up. Sometimes you're just like, it's life, everything's busy. But if you as the therapist are prompting that, you can negate a problem before it happens.
100%.
So Elli, I've been loving all of this. Can you quickly recap the 5 steps of the consultation framework for listeners?
Yep. So 1, we want to go through the skin concerns. We want to go through your previous products and treatments, the skin analysis or the observe, products and their role in the treatments, and then your personalized treatment journey.
Amazing. All right, let's move into a quick fire round before we wrap up. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, quick. Let's go.
What's one consultation question you always ask?
I feel like I just said it, but right at the start, are you looking for a long-term transformation or do you have a special event coming up?
What's a red flag in a skin consult?
Oh my goodness, not asking what you have previously tried.
What about from the client?
I feel like whenever I do say, like some clients just have no idea until they see you for the first time.
Someone who wants lots of discounts, always a red flag.
Oh, yes, of course. I wasn't even thinking that way. Yes, Sammy. Yeah. You should have hit me. These are meant to be quick. All right, next one.
Favorite way to explain skin science simply?
Oh my gosh, I'm a visual girl. So I'm going to get out those visual cards or the iPad and start showing them. That's my go-to.
What's the best product you always recommend?
The one that helps them with their skin concerns, but also helps them with the underlying skin concerns that they didn't quite know they had, but it's going to help it too.
I swear whenever I ask someone in skin, they say SPF.
I mean, yeah, we all need it though. That's a given.
What's one consultation mistake to avoid?
Just moving on quickly and not asking them how they feel about the consultation.
I agree. I've had to learn to ask questions and then when they respond, acknowledge what they say and then ask another question. My little ADHD brain's just always like question, like I want to say it all at once. And I'm like that even on the podcast. And now I've had to start pausing and going, I like that. Or that's really interesting, because if you just keep asking questions and you don't acknowledge how they're feeling, they're going to be like, are they even wanting to talk to me? Like, is this even interesting?
Are they actually listening? You're over it.
Oh, Elli, this episode has been packed with gold. If you've ever felt awkward, salesy, or unsure in your consultations, I hope this has given you as a listener a roadmap to guide clients with confidence and get better results for them and your business.
And if you'd love to dive deeper and get access to my full skin consultation training, you'll find the link in the show notes below. It's packed with the tools to help you feel more confident, convert more clients, and deliver next level results. Thanks so much for tuning in. We hope this episode gave you some real value you can take straight back into your salon or clinic. Don't forget to subscribe and come say hi over at Instagram, Beauty Industry Leaders. We'd love to hear what you're implementing. See you next episode.
Bye.
Audience exclusive.